Osbourne's family released this statement you see there. It is with more sadness than mere words can convey that we have to report that our beloved Ozzy Osbourne has passed away this morning. He was with his family and surrounded by love. Joining us now for more on this is Joe Levy. He's a contributor for the Rolling Stone magazine. Thank you so much for joining us. What more can you tell us about the life and legacy of Ozzy Osbourne? A lot of people, like myself, got to know him through 2002, 2005 on The Osbourne Show, which was one of the most watched shows on MTV at the time. But tell us more about his history and why he is so revered.
The Osbournes was such a strange moment in his career because there he was as a family man in something like a reality sitcom with his wife, the tempestuous manager Sharon Osbourne, and two of their children. But before that, we knew him as one of the pioneers of heavy metal with Black Sabbath and on his own. The self-proclaimed Prince of Darkness, not a family man at all, but a tempestuous rock star who struggled mightily with substance abuse and who was legendary for his misbehavior. There is a famous incident where he may or may not, and in fact, he did, tear the head off of a live bird during a record company meeting. The mayhem he described in his songs, he sometimes acted out, is my point. But then MTV gives us the Osbournes. And when you got to know him, he was a loving family man.
What do you think made him such a cultural icon? Because, you know, these people that come along that we'll be talking about for generations and generations outside of sort of setting the tone for heavy metal, you know, wearing the makeup, living his life out loud. But also, I feel like in watching his family, you saw a real family, a lot of love. And someone that was obviously very talented and always wanted to be connected to that part of him who was this heavy metal artist.
I agree. And that moment with the Osbournes was sort of a second, maybe third career for Ozzy. What made him famous at first was the music he made with Black Sabbath. It was dark, it was tempestuous, it was sludgy. It was right at the start of the 1970s, 1970 in fact. It was not so popular with critics like myself, but it was awfully popular with kids. And I should say, I was a kid at the time, I should know. And that music was so dark and doomy, and it partook of all of the signs and symbols of horror movies, really in order to tell a certain kind of truth about the way that kids felt. It was a very silly kind of music in certain ways, and Ozzy was the first one to admit it, or the trappings were a little silly. But the music had a deep, dark power to it and a kind of truth to it. And then with the Osbournes, as you say, we got to know a personal side of Ozzy, a very vulnerable guy, a bit addled or addled seeming, but a loving guy who had trouble disciplining his kids.
Right.
You know, it was a sort of play on old sitcoms that were ancient when I was watching TV in the 70s, things like Father Knows Best or Ozzy and Harriet, except it was these misbehaving rock stars who were raised kids.
And that's what I think is so special at the core of that family. Like, only they get it. And they were all super protective of each other, I think, in terms of what we did see on screen. Ozzy Osbourne, as you know, was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2006. Shortly after that show aired. But then there was a decline of his health. He acknowledged that he had Parkinson's. He was in an accident. And the fact that he was even performing not that long ago was a really, really big deal. So just talk to us about those events leading up to his passing.
Absolutely. It's important to remember that leading up to that Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction, Ozzy had his own festival called Ozzfest. He was so big in the world of heavy metal that you could organize a touring festival just around him. And it is also true that he did have that accident. I believe he was riding an ATV and was severely injured when he crashed it. I believe his son was with him at the time. If I remember correctly, he had to retire from the road for a bit. But Ozzy was someone who lived hard, rocked hard, and retired over and over again, starting, I think, first in the 90s.
Hmm.
He retired at least 2 times, kept coming back. And the fact that his Parkinson's diagnosis kept him from performing made it all the more amazing that just 2 weeks ago, he took the stage for what absolutely would be the final time. This was no joke, even had his demise not come so quickly upon it. It was clear he had to be carried out in a black throne, that he would not keep performing. Yet there he was at this Back to the Beginning concert, performing with Black Sabbath, right back to the start of it all, one last time. He could not be stopped.
He could not be stopped, exactly. Joe Levy, we thank you so much for your time and just sharing that history and those moments with us.
Thank you.